Update 236 brings with it the McShay weapon pack number 4, and as has been the case with everything Gemma McShay has given us so far, it not only adds new playstyles to the game, but also brings some monstrously powerful options to our primary arsenal. If this is to be the final weapon DLC for Payday 2, it's fair to say we're going out with a bang, and as I look back across the many weapon DLCs we've received since Payday 2 launched almost a decade ago, I find myself smiling. Despite the limitations of the engine and gameplay framework, the Overkill team have built on these weapon packs across the years, and the quality of what we receive today it blows everything else out of the water. From sound, animation and concept designs, it's pretty awesome to see. This time, we're getting a minigun light LMG with an underbarrel flamethrower, if you can believe that, a pump-action shotgun that can pierce shields, armor and walls, and finally a weapon based on Counter-Strike's iconic AWP, or Arctic Warfare Magnum, that manages to bring 3 brand new damage category snipers all in one. Even if everything in the pack won't land for the average DSOD player, I think it's fair to say that Overkill have gone all out with this one, and there's a ton of fun to be had. But before I dive into the gritty details on these weapons to help you decide if a purchase is worthwhile, I first want to explain why, for once, I'm releasing this video on an update launch date, and I'm able to go into such depth on these weapons just hours after release. That's right, I am now an Overkill and Payday partner, and as such I will get early access to content and information that allows me to prepare everyone else for when they launch. It's yet another honour that the guys at Starbreeze have bestowed on me, and I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity, but in no way will this influence how I choose to review and critique their content. I've decided to continue to buy DLCs personally, just like the rest of you, and as such, anytime I look at an update, it's from the perspective of a consumer, not an affiliate. Anyway, that said, I've used my last couple of days with this update to get to grips with these new weapons and see exactly what they're made of, and so far, they seem as fun to use as you might expect. Let's start with the primary Deimos shotgun. This pump action number can be ran with or without an exclusive set, which not only gives it a unique futuristic look, but also has an in-model ammo counter to help you keep on top of your reloads. Visually, I think this weapon looks excellent and feels great to use with a slick pump animation that reminds me of Borderlands 1. It falls into the mid to high weapon damage category, exchanging a little rate of fire for damage relative to other weapons in the class. If you don't want to run the exclusive set, you will get access to the Eris Mag extender, bringing you to a max capacity of 7, which can help balance out this weapon's primary struggle with reloading. Unfortunately, that comes in place of a silencer, making it generally less suited for high concealment crit builds than if you choose to equip the Flatline exclusive set. Of course, what really sets this weapon apart is its innate bullet penetration. So this was an unexpected surprise. Turns out, Overkill heard that the AP shotgun was a little overtuned and decided to revert it at the 11th hour. The true update 236 build does not have the armor piercing effect. To be frank, this removes a lot of what was unique and fun about the weapon, and this whole video was scripted with that in mind. Was it a fair balance change? Probably. Does it lower the unique value of the DLC pack? Almost certainly. I'm out of time to completely reevaluate my opinion on things in this video, but just keep in mind a lot of what you're about to hear about the Deimos specifically assumes that it has innate armor piercing. It's still a fairly strong shotgun with an appealing look, but it's not the powerhouse I initially assumed it to be, and this gameplay is going to make you really jealous, bearing in mind it's no longer possible to emulate. Well, the SWAT shields of DC will be rejoicing, so I'm going to hand you back to Kknowley from a day ago. If you want to make the most out of this weapon, I've found it feels excellent with buckshot and crit. If that's not your style though, this weapon is absolutely fine without critical hits, reaching a 181 damage threshold, which is plenty to one-shot heavies and two-shot specials with just Overkill activated, although it falls just short of one-shotting cloakers. I generally prefer to run it with the exclusive set, not only for the nice visuals, but also as it fits into a more concealment-focused build. The loss of 10 damage that comes with it is not all that impactful, as even without crit we can still one or two shot everything I mentioned previously. For me though, crit has become a staple on shotguns ever since damage range multipliers were added to hurt their consistency, as it allows you to spam down corridors that bit more effectively than you could without it. The only real downsides of this weapon, relative to other top tier shotguns in the primary class, are its tame rate of fire when compared to the fully autos, and incredibly meagre mag size of 5 when ran with the exclusive set. This leaves you reloading pretty much constantly and not outputting the same DPS as something like the Akimbo Goliaths. But bearing in mind this thing can penetrate walls and cops, its additional utility, safety, as you can hide behind walls when using it, and overall group DPS makes those small flaws seem almost non-existent. In my opinion, it's absolutely the strongest weapon in the pump action category, and is undoubtedly straight up one of the most powerful shotguns in the entire game. It works both as a utility primary and a secondary weapon focused build, or an outright carry of a weapon that's looking to specialise more in shotgun skills. Whenever Overkill introduces a weapon with a unique mechanic, it always runs the risk of being a little overpowered, and that's exactly what I've experienced with the Deimos so far, but in all the right ways. Up next, let's talk about the Campbell 74 LMG. As has been tradition lately, this thing is a few different weapon classes rolled into one. It calls itself an LMG, yet handles more like a minigun with fairly impressive concealment, and if that wasn't enough, it has a flamethrower attachment for good measure. Once again, its exclusive set is fairly weapon morphing, leaning further into that minigun style by dropping 20 points of damage in exchange for more ammo and a bigger mag. It also comes with 3 points of concealment that are clearly there to assist you in turning this into a crit machine. Unfortunately, this concealment isn't enough to really see it compete with what is already a mediocre weapon category. Trading out 40 points of damage is a huge deal when the gun only has 1/3 of the minigun's fire rate, and less damage than the microgun. Not to mention, with only 600 total ammo and under 30 damage, you're going to be tickling cops to death and rapidly running out of rounds to keep doing so further into heist. I generally like the way the weapon feels, and undoubtedly there's fun to be had with it, but this exclusive set variation would not be my pick if you want something with viability on higher difficulties. Not to mention, if you do want to build into concealment, it makes it impossible to equip the infernal flamethrower attachment, which is surely like 90% of what makes this weapon fun to use. Which is why I've personally been sticking to this more LMG statted version of the gun. It doesn't quite have the upfront damage we're used to seeing from this weapon category, although 75 is respectable, but this version can be modified to have some of the best handling stats in class. Of course, where it really shines is in its use of the underbarrel flamethrower. This attachment deals 7 damage up front, followed by 2 ticks of afterburn, dealing 600 additional damage in total. This is notably less than both other flamethrowers in the game, and sadly won't be enough to one-shot heavies, but is plenty of damage and disruption to augment what is already a decent primary weapon. Effectively, it feels like a secondary that doesn't take up a secondary slot, leaving room for a higher DPS option or some additional utility within a build. Much like penetration on a shotgun, it trivializes shields, who won't be appreciating this DLC one bit. My experience with it so far has been marred slightly by ammo struggles, leading to me switching over to an ammo bag build that has allowed a fair bit more fiery freedom. If you can get used to quick switching, the stun potential on a build like this is absolutely insane, allowing you to play aggressively and both protect teammates and clear cops effectively. Everything the exclusive set build lacks, this version makes up for in spades, making this another excellent and surprisingly well balanced addition to the game. My one big complaint is that once again, they've managed to make an awesome weapon, mechanically and visually, but somehow the laser sight is so far from the centre of the screen, it's actually detrimental to have turned on. That needs a fix as soon as possible for this to feel like the complete package. Finally, I've saved the best for last, as the Amaroq 900 sniper rifle has to be one of the most requested weapons that had somehow still avoided the Payday gang's grasp. This weapon is iconic to fans of Counter-Strike and TF2, so with that in mind, Overkill have gone above and beyond to make it one of the most versatile weapons in the category, and given it 3 unique visual styles to boot. The standard matte green version avoids equipping an exclusive set to instead give you access to the full suite of attachment options, allowing you to choose to specialise into higher concealment or pick up some extra ammo with the awesome locking shell rack. The speedbolt also makes this the easiest version of the weapon to pick up and use if you're someone less used to sniping in Payday 2. Without an exclusive set equipped, this sniper will fall around 1100 damage depending on whether you choose to silence it. As I mentioned at the start of the video, this is one of 3 entirely unique damage categories this falls into, more than doubling the damage output per shot of its closest relative, the R93. You can tell that the intention was to temper this by keeping its ammo capacity low, but with good ammo management and the insane power of Graze, I can assure you this won't hold you back for long. The only question you have to ask is whether this damage is overkill. You see, once a weapon has roughly 500 damage, there's nothing you can't one-shot outside of bulldozers, meaning as long as you're clicking heads, they'll be the only types the Amaroq has an advantage against. But we're all human and miss shots, so having a weapon with the ability to one-shot heavies to the body still feels really advantageous. I've even found that there is an argument for running crit with this thing, as it allows you to one-shot body shot just about everything and deal some truly insane damage into dozers themselves. I like this weapon gives you that choice, and don't personally believe its high damage trade-off is a disadvantage. Speaking of that crit playstyle, the Badlands exclusive set really plays into the idea, trading a couple hundred points of damage for increased ammo capacity, stability and concealment. Losing access to the speedbolt does hurt this weapon's consistency, but the extra ammo really does cement the power creep of this gun next to the 500 damage category. This has been my favourite way to use the weapon so far, given I'm not a huge fan of fetching my ammo consistently. However, the crowd favourite is almost certainly going to be the second exclusive set, the Dragon Lore. Instead of setting you back several $1,000s in Counter-Strike, you can equip the iconic skin in Payday 2 comparatively cheaply, also bringing with it 210 extra damage, but taking the concealment build out of the equation. As I've already mentioned, crit is far from necessary when a weapon already deals 1300 damage and is one-shotting everything in sight, although once again, you do have to ask yourself, is this damage entirely necessary? By choosing the Dragon Lore set, you're preventing yourself from grabbing that additional reserve ammo and forcing a more Thanatos-like playstyle with about 1/3 of its total damage. This in mind, and not wanting to miss any shots, I've decided to equip the newly added Tumbback scope, allowing me to switch between 4.5x and 10x zoom within the single scope, which is another cool new feature exclusive to this DLC. Unfortunately, I really did feel the ammo strain on this build, so as much as I love the aesthetic, I've honestly found more joy with the other two variations of the weapon, but maybe you guys can find a way to make use of its incredible damage potential. In any case, it's a wonderful homage to a classic and an incredibly interesting sniper that's essentially created its own weapon class. I absolutely adore snipers, so this one will likely be filling out my personal builds for the rest of Payday 2's development cycle. And with that, somewhat melancholy statement actually, this might be it. Payday 2's final DLC weapons. Almost impossible to imagine, but if things go as planned, it should be Payday 3 full steam ahead from here on in, at least for the weapons team. We still have 2 DLCs coming our way in the Crude Awakening bundle though, so stay tuned for those in the coming months. As for me, I have a few projects on the go at the moment, some of which going beyond PC gaming, which should be exciting. But if the PC is still more your speed, why not get down with the new DLC on one of my Kknowley branded Apex gaming PCs with more heisting power than you'll know what to do with. Check them out from the link in the description. That said, thank you so much for watching and for all your support over the years. This community is the reason why Starbreeze have reached out to partner with me, so I'm eternally grateful for that. See you all very soon in the next video. A huge thank you to my dedicated Patreon backers. If you want to join this crew in going infamous, check out the link below and pledge as little as $2 to see your name in the credits, or get 24-hour early access to future videos and vote on upcoming content. Take care, I'll see you all soon.